Cambodian farmers have experienced dramatic changes over the past decades. A devastating totalitarian attempt of collectivization under the Khmer Rouge, civil war and insecurity which only ended at the turn of the century. Then agricultural policies which radically transformed what is crucial to their livelihood, access to land for farming. This transformation concerns all of the Cambodian countryside, including here in the province of Kampong Thom. Subsistence farming was their main means of living, completed by the collection of food products from forest areas, hunting, and fishing. This style of livelihood relies on having easy access to land to farm, forest, and water areas. And fortunately, Cambodia had lots of land, and much of it was freely accessible.
ធ្លាប់ទៅនៅខ្ញុំនៅពីម៉ែជាមួយម៉ែឪខ្ញុំកាលខ្ញុំនៅជាមួយម៉ែឪខ្ញុំធ្លាប់ដើរកាប់ចកាថ្ងៃនោះដើររវើរជឿរអុយតាមធំជាតិមានជាតិអុយទេរស៊ីសัตว์ព្រៃសัตว์អុយដាក់ទៀតសម្រាប់ធ្វើម្ហូបចែកគ្នាស៊ីខ្លួនឯងទេ
Since the 2000s, the access to that land has drastically reduced. Across the country, the government began leasing large areas of the land to Cambodian elites and foreign investors to develop plantation agriculture, such as rubber, sugarcane, and cashews. Often these land concessions were the very same land many Cambodians were already using. Double loss is a Khmer saying, which in this context means that people firstly lost the lands they had access to for farming and for the collection of natural resources. Then secondly, they are in jeopardy of losing any remaining land if they are unable to reimburse the bank for loans they needed in order to engage in commercial agriculture.
ពេលដែលមុនពេលក្រុមហ៊ុនមកបងប្អូនប្រជាពលរដ្ឋយើងគាត់មានការកាប់ឆ្ការហើយនឹងមានផ្ទះមានសម្បែងនៅជាតូបនៅជារោងខ្លះៗអញ្ចឹងទៅជាគាត់ធ្វើជាម្ចាស់ខ្លះអញ្ចឹងណាបាទកាប់ដាំដុះបានខ្លះក៏3ឆ្នាំខ្លះក៏5ឆ្នាំខ្លះក៏2ឆ្នាំតែដល់ពេលក្រោយមកនៅឆ្នាំ2006គេមានរដ្ឋាភិបាលយើងមានគម្រោងមួយដាក់វិនិយោគក្រុមហ៊ុនភឿវ៉ា
In Olrina's village, the Vietnamese company cleared the land and planted 16,000 hectares of rubber trees.
នេះប្រហែលគ្រួសារនៅតំបន់នេះគាត់បាត់បង់មែនតាខ្លះក៏គ្នាអត់ទៅដល់អញ្ចឹងគាត់បាត់បង់ហើយខ្លះបាត់បង់ទាំងស្រុងខ្លះក៏បាត់បង់ខ្លះនៅដីតិចទេតាមហ្នឹងតែគិតដល់ដីក្រុមហ៊ុន
This same scenario was playing out across the country. This map shows the areas granted as economic land concessions. In blue, to Cambodian companies, in red, to Chinese companies, and in green, to Vietnamese companies. In 2020, the total area of active land concessions represented 29% of Cambodia's cropped land area.
មានអីកាប់ទៀតឥឡូវសិតតែចន្ទទីអស់គេដាំចន្ទទីអស់ទៅមានអត់មានដីព្រៃអីទៀតទេឥឡូវ
The way Cambodians had lived for generations was about to look very different. A team of researchers have studied the consequences of this change.
Our research analyzes the transformation of rural livelihoods in Cambodia, and more specifically, how the increasing commercialization of agriculture impacts men and women differently and contribute to reshape gender relations. It also shows the consequences of this process on the food security of local populations.
The development of large-scale economic land concessions and commercial agriculture for exports has turned out to restructure agriculture around a few crops such as rubber and cassava.
As a consequence, small farmers have had to engage increasingly into cash crops with the hope that incomes from cash crops would provide them the resource to provide the food that they cannot produce anymore.
ខ្ញុំដាំត្លងផែដាំតាំងពី2010 2011នេះសម្រាប់ចិត្តត្លងគេថាទិញត្លងទៅដាំនៅថាមើមច្រើនមើមចៃចុះទៅគឺដាំគេទៅណាប្រងដាំពីដំបូងនោះវាថ្លៃដល់រៀងដាំបានទៅគ្រប់គ្នាទៅវាចុះអស់ទៅណាបាក់អត់ទេ
For the large majority of small landholders, the income from commercial farming is too low to meet their needs, and they must develop additional income-generating activities. Women have also had to engage in new income-earning activities.
We find that women are taking on a triple burden of work. That is, they continue to do the vast majority of care work, looking after children and elderly family members, as well as running the household. And they're also working on the family farm and increasingly doing wage work to keep the family afloat.
Economic land concessions create very little employment considering the large areas of land they cover. Families like Sopak and her husband, who make most of their income from salaried work in rubber plantations, are not many. Families rely increasingly on credit. For some, credit allows for developing complementary activities, while others resort to credit to purchase food. To make additional income, Sobak and her husband recently took out a loan from the bank to grow cash crops.
Studies show that when women earn an income, it contributes positively to the food diversity of the family, but paradoxically, when women work away from home, they have less time to invest in cooking and providing full meals. So from a policy perspective, if you push women into the market economy, it means time, poverty, and oftentimes family food insecurity.
Though it is evident that women are working more than ever, this has led to some positive change in the way women are positioned vis-a-vis men.
តែឥឡូវគាត់ហ៊ានដូចថាគាត់ឲ្យតម្លៃគ្នាចេះយោគយល់គ្នាច្រើនអ្នកគ្រូឥឡូវអីណា
However, if a woman's position improves as they earn more money, they are also getting more dependent on men because men earn more money than them. The transformation of rural livelihoods has had tremendous consequences on the way people feed themselves and their food security.
Interestingly, in the transition from family food farming to commercial farming, people are now obliged to, or many households buy their food on the market with cash. So there's an emergence of a local food market which is very dynamic and evolving under our eyes. We've seen peddlers coming into the most remote places. We have seen the emergence of local grocery stores and then retailers.
បលែបងប្អូនបថយការដាំសឹងអាងរីនេះបលែមកដល់ផ្ទះថ្ងៃហើយផ្សារនេះជិតទាំងនេះ
បន្លែសាច់ធម្មតាហ្នឹងសាច់គោត្រីសាច់ជ្រូកសាច់មាន់ហើយគេជឿទៀតទៅអស់ហើយបានមកទប់ទល់ហ្នឹងបើលក់អស់ទៅបានចំណេញតែលក់អត់អស់ទៅបានរួចខ្លួន
Though some Cambodians, for health reasons, prefer to grow vegetables themselves.
គឺអត់ល្អដូចមុនតែមកខ្ញុំអត់ចង់ទិញទេព្រោះផ្សារណាមួយយើងអត់ចង់ហូបទេឥឡូវវាគីមីពេកចាអញ្ចឹងយើងដាំក្នុងដីយើងតកួនអីចឹងទៅទុកបេះស្លអញ្ចឹងទៅ
The general improvement of food security hides large inequalities across classes. The percentage of households reporting food shortage ranges from 52% for those with a yearly income below $1,600 to 21% for those with a yearly income above $6,800. There are also remaining undernutrition problems with children under 5 and women of reproductive age.
For many, the transition from food crops to food shops is problematic because they do not have the financial resources to make purchases.
ជាថ្ងៃជឿតបអ្នកលក់បន្លែមកនេះឯងគេមកគេជឿគេមកដល់មុខតែគេជឿគេឲ្យជឿទៅគេអត់ថៃញៀតថៃប្រហើមអីហ្នឹងចេះតែនាំគ្នាហូបទៅអត់មានលុយចេះតែអំសំបថខ្ញុំតែហូបទេព្រមឡើងខ្ញុំទៅហូបឲ្យតែម៉ែប្តីអីចៅនេះហូបអញ្ចឹងគាត់ហូបទៅបបរសមិនតែទិញហូបគេទេទេសាទុកហូបអញ្ចឹងទៅគាត់ហូបឲ្យគាត់ហូបឲ្យឆ្អែតបើសយើងទៅអត់សអត់ទៅហូបខូចគេអញ្ចឹងទៅជាងកាអត់ទៅ
One of the really striking things that emerges from our research is the amount of debt that rural families and communities are carrying. A lot of families are juggling multiple loans from multiple lenders, both commercial financial institutions as well as informal private money lenders. And the risk is that they are using land titles as collateral for loans. So if there's default on these loans, then they will lose their land, particularly for smallholder farmers and people who don't have very much land to begin with. This is a real threat.
ពាក្យរត់យកសាមុន35ឯងបងលុះតោកូននេះផងនឹងធ្វើរោងឲ្យកូនកាក់សក់នោះមួយផងនឹងឲ្យកូនមើលនេះទុកចាយគ្រាន់ថាទៅរៀនសានោះទៅរៀនពេញឲ្យកូនពីរៀនស្គាល់ទុកខ្លួនណាកាត់តែ3500ទៅពេលអត់អុយបងទៅយក4លានមកទៀតឆ្នាំទៅដាក់ប្រងដីឲ្យគេដីចកាពេលទៅយកម្នាក់ឯងពេលយកមកទៅយើងចាត់ចែងថាធ្វើនេះធ្វើនោះសងនេះសងនោះអស់ទៅក៏ហើយតែប៉ុន្តែពេលយើងដោះខែដោះការរកទាំងអស់គ្នា
Borrowing has become a must, and the finance industry has boomed together with the development of commercial agriculture.
One village chief told me that some of the microfinance come to him and then really encourage, convince him to borrow the money from them, even he doesn't even need that money.
ប៉ុន្តែជួលគេជួលវិញប ដាំវិញអត់លុយនោះបងប្អូនពងថ្មគេសិនមក
នៅនឹងគេខ្ចីច្រើនដល់អញ្ចឹងហើយគាត់ចង់បរិចមុខរបរម្នាក់ពីច្រើនខ្ចីហ្មងផ្ទះខ្ញុំក៏ខ្ចីគេចាយើងខ្ចីហើយយើងខ្ចីធ្វើដបូលនេះហើយនឹងទិញដីដែលខ្ញុំធ្វើស្រែរាល់ថ្ងៃនេះខ្ញុំទិញទេដល់ពេលខ្ញុំខ្ចីគេបរិចទៅយើងអាចមានដាក់អីវ៉ាន់បានដូរឲ្យគេបានរីកចម្រើនជាងមុនបើយើងអត់ខ្ចីវានៅតែមុខរបរនៅតែតូចឯង
មុខរបរនឹងបានបាទមកទប់រឿងកូនចាយកូនអីគ្រាន់ថាយើងមកបើកមុខរបរអញ្ចឹងទៅយើងខ្ចីលុយគេមកធ្វើដែរអញ្ចឹងពេលយើងបានទៅយើងបង់ទៅគេដែរយ៉ាងបើសិនជាយើងមានដើមទុនខ្លួនយើងអានឹងវាគ្រាន់បើយើងរនៅក្នុងការចាក់គេដែរពេលយើងបានទៅយើងទៅបង់ធនាគារវិញទៅ
Governments in countries like Cambodia are in a difficult position. On the one hand, foreign investment in farmland and agriculture is a source of economic development that can pull people out of poverty and can help connect farmers to markets. On the other hand, the detrimental impacts of commercial agriculture on ecosystems and local peoples are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore.
Farmers were rather optimistic about commercial crops 10 to 15 years ago, as they expected it would give them access to consumption goods, motorbikes, construction materials for their house, industrial inputs for new crops. In a way, it did give them access to these goods, but at the cost of growing indebtedness.
It's a lot of anxiety and concern and stress, and also like the food getting more and more expensive. They have to women responsible buying food every day, and they pay the same amount but then they get less food. All of this it's not good for them because they manage the money, they manage the food, they manage the household, and they have all the worry, like concern and stress.
ខ្ញុំមិនស្រួលក៏ខ្ញុំអត់តែយល់ទៅមុខហួលបបាក់តែខ្ញុំនៅទៅតែខ្ញុំរស់ស្អុយក៏ទៅធ្វើដែរស្អុយមិនចេះរិះរយនឹងការងារទេ